Hey everyone, it's RareTotem here again for the third and final one of these videos in my series where I am ranking every single card for the Cyberpunk TCG that is currently available for playtesting. Whether you're doing it online or some kind of proxy printing thing, I've done quite a bit of testing with folks in all manners of play, and this final video is covering the programs and gear. I've already done the legends and all the units, so if you haven't seen those yet, I'd recommend going ahead and checking those out too, so you know where everything kind of stands in the meta based off of all the games that I've played and what cards I see used the most and what cards I don't see used, and kind of people's other people's opinions on what they feel about these cards. So we got a few categories here, not many. There's like 13 cards in this set, so it's going to be hopefully a quicker video here for those of you who hate long videos. We have the Preem category, which are the best of the best. You got your strongs, you got your fair but better options, and then of course the I'm here just to be sold for Eddies category, where I don't think I've seen people really use these cards for their effects. They pretty much just use them to sell, so they don't have to sell the actual good cards in their deck. So, that's completely a valid, bit of value that they can add. You don't want to be selling, a Gorilla Arms or something when you want to use that later in the game. You'd rather throw away something that you don't really give a crap about. So, all right, we'll just get right into it here. I'm just going to go in the order here, not based off color or anything like that. I feel there's not that many to go over and not much remarkable to say about a few of these. So there are a couple in here that I might dive into in other videos in the future. If anybody's interested in more in-depth card analysis videos, I could do that. I've been debating going into something like that, but I'm not quite sure yet where I want to take it after this series is complete. Anyways, we will start off here with the humble and simple Mantis Blades. Looking at our list here, let me clean this up, get rid of the units. Mantis Blades, where are we? Oh, I passed it. 1 cost, 2 power. Doesn't get much more simple than that. Pretty effective, pretty good at getting certain cards over certain limits. The main ones that benefit from this are your Ruthless Lowlife and your Evelyn Parkers, because they only have 1 power apiece. And those blockers, Bombus and Corpo Security, stop them in their tracks. So pumping them up to at least 3 power will get them over that hump where you don't have to worry about them just getting insta-killed by the cheap walls that your opponents will play. So I'm putting it in strong, not just for that, but for other cards as well. Giving something plus 2 powers is pretty good, pretty solid. And it's super cheap. It only costs 1. It's great. You can't get much better than that for just a basic vanilla piece of gear. Going on one that's a little bit more interesting mechanics wise, and this might be a hot take, an unpopular opinion, but I'm putting Satori in the fair but better options. And I know that sounds crazy that I'm putting Mantis Blades, a card that has no effect and gives it just 2 power, ranking that stronger than Satori here, which costs 2, so only 1 more, so it's still pretty cheap. It only gives it 1 power, but it gives it a pretty good effect here of if this unit wins a fight against a rival unit, you draw a card. And that is a really nice ability to have. Drawing cards, of course, in a TCG is always a great effect to have. And this does help to shape the game, or at least certain decks you can make to be more of an aggro thing, to where it's not just tug of war but with gig attacks. You can just do direct attacks to your opponent's units as well, and this encourages you to do so. And it's great for that, but I just feel that, for one, I don't see too many people abusing or using this very often, and it definitely has potential to skyrocket if there are more cards that want to be fighting units as opposed to taking gear, like the El Sombreron, for example, you know, you double his power when he attacks a rival unit, and that's really good. And you throw that on him, and then you're killing something, and he's gonna have let's see, what is that? Enough 10 power? He'd have 10 power with that on him when he's attacking something and killing it during your turn, which is really cool. And you'll draw a card. That's not a bad combo, but I just don't feel, even though it only costs one more, and it gives one less power too, and you have to be attacking units instead of just stealing gigs. I'm just gonna put it below Mantis Blades. It feels wrong to do, but hey, that's just where I'm putting it right now. If I see more people starting to use and abuse it, I will change my mind happily on it and put out a video apologizing, saying I was not familiar with the game, Satori, but right now that you're just going in fair but better options. Up next we have Industrial Assembly here. And this card costs 2, and you get to increase a friendly gig by 4, so it's one of the few ways you can alter the value of a gig die. I'm sure that will come into effect way more when the game's actually out. If you have 7 street cred after increasing one by 4, you can draw a card. So that's not terrible from all the other cards in the game that allow you to draw cards. 2 Eddy cost is about what you're going to expect to pay for those. You have River Ward, the legend. When you call him for 2 Eddies, you draw a card. Dum Dum's the same way. If you don't destroy a piece of gear, you draw a card that costs 2 Eddies to do. There's the After Party at Lizzie's, where you alter a gig die and then you draw a card if it matches one of yours. I think the set number of sides on the die. So 2 Eddies to draw a card it seems to be kind of what they're doing to balance as far as how many Eddies you're paying to at least draw 1 card. But having said that, I don't think I really see too many people playing this except for selling it. It doesn't really do much for your board state. Yeah, it increases your street cred by a bit, and that could come into effect. I just don't see it being that impactful, honestly. You're just selling this. I've never really seen anybody throwing these out there, especially more than one. You know, they might play one early on to get a card draw, or maybe at that towards the end of the game, but I'm not seeing people play more than one of these in a single game. I just don't see it. Going from the bottom of the list to one of my personal favorites towards the top in the Preem category is Dying Knight. The Pistol of V costs 2 Eddies. It gives you 2 power, 1 more than Satori, and it has an amazing effect, barring of course it is limited, where you have to have a certain amount of street cred, and if you unfortunately roll really bad on your rolls or all your gigs are stolen, this effect sadly won't come into play. But when it does come into play, it's a big one. If you have 7 street cred, you defeat a rival gear card that costs 2 or less. That is great. If they have a mandibular upgrade on some big gigantic Jackie or the Minotaur or something like that, and you are afraid to attack because that thing's just going to kill whatever you're swinging in with, you can just pop that off of them, that mandibular upgrade, and don't care about it at all. If they have Mantis Blades, the thing is with this, it has to be a cheap piece of gear. That's the only thing. So you're not getting rid of Gorilla Arms or Sandevistan, but the ones that people are playing a lot, the one that you're going to be dealing with the most and gives you the most headache, is the mandibular upgrade, which gives somebody a blocker. It's a perfect way around that. Great bit of disruption in the state of the game right now, where there's not really much disruption or removal. Any bit of removal you can if you're a fan of removal and control decks like I am. It's a great card. I love it. I love it. Going up next to another blue one. I think, yeah, blue and green only have like 2 apiece, and yellow has like 6. So yeah, very, very skewed. Maybe yellow is just going to be the gear and program color. I don't know yet. I mean, that's why it's looking, at least from what they've shown us. But going on to the next one here, we have another bit of board control. In Floor It, it costs 3 Eddies to play. and you could just return a spent unit with a cost of 4 or less to its owner's hand. Now, I've seen some people misplay this and not realize it has to be a spent unit, and they get really disappointed, but that would be really crazy if you could just do any unit that costs 4 or less. And you may think, yeah, 4, that's pretty cheap. You're not getting rid of Jackie or anything like that with this guy, but you're getting rid of the T-Bugs, the Delamain Cabs, any blockers that they have. In the state of the game right now, most stuff costs 4 or less as far as units go, especially early in the game, the ones that people are playing. And this will completely disrupt the plans of your opponent. It will force them to have to play that card again. If better still, if they have a bunch of gear on that card, that all has to go back to their hand as well. So you might give them options to put that gear on something else instead, a different target that they might want it on. But then they're gonna have to pay the eddies to play that again. So you're basically just slowing them down to let you catch up. Or if you just are already ahead, it's just going to completely disrupt what they're doing. So it's a pretty strong effect. It is limited by the fact that it has to be a spent unit and it's only a 4 cost, but it's not bad. It's not bad at all. I really like to use it. I've seen a few people do a combo where they will actually use the legend, let me find it here. They'll use the Alt Cunningham to go solo and then swing at you and then trash this guy or gal, I guess, and then throw one of your cards back into your hand by playing Floor It for free. So it's pretty interesting. Would not touch this one really right now, just because I don't think it's a worthwhile program to play for free. I mean, in the current state maybe, but not really big on it at the moment. But yeah, definitely a strong card. Well, up next we have the one piece of gear in green, which is Sandevistan. Let's change the gear in program. Sandevistan. We have 3 eddy cost, and you get 3 power. So it's a piece of gear that gives you a decent amount of strength here compared to all the others we looked at so far, and it has a very unique effect where this unit can attack spent units this turn. What does that mean? I thought anything could attack spent units this turn. Well, this actually gives units that you just played essentially haste. So it's really good as a surprise tool where your opponent wouldn't be expecting one of their units to be destroyed if you don't have it on the board yet. The thing that's rough with this is that it does cost 3, so you're gonna have to play a cheap unit, because you're gonna have to play the unit and this in the same turn to make use of the attacking when they couldn't normally attack. Otherwise, don't even play this on something that that is already eligible to attack anyways, because I mean, you'll give them 3 power, but that's it. You're gonna lose the surprise elements of this. So you could throw this on like a T-Bug, Swordwise Hustle or something like that. That only costs 3. So for the price of a Jackie, you can get a unit that's gonna have 8 power, because those both have 5. It's gonna have 8 power, and it can attack something that's spent this turn. So, and it's a pretty good combo, and it's not too expensive. I mean, you could throw it on one of the cheaper ones too, like an Evelyn or something, if you were that crazy to do so. I don't know if I would do that, but you can, and it would catch people off guard. And I don't see this card too much, but I have seen it to go through pretty good effect. The only thing right now is that it is in green, and it's pretty heavily in green because it's 4 RAM, and green just kind of lacks a little bit compared to the other colors. So I don't like going heavy into green, unfortunately. So I don't really have a deck at all where I use 2 green legends, so I never have 4 green RAM. So this thing's never getting played by me, but still decent for all that. Let me go back to these. It keeps reverting for some reason. We're gonna put Sandevistan. It's still strong. It's gonna probably be the back end of this. It's teetering on the fair but better options, but we'll put it there for now. The last green card is the Program Corporate Surveillance. Costs 2 eddies to play. Simple effect, spend a rival unit with a cost of 3 or less. And the targets for this are pretty much those little blockers that your opponent's gonna have. If they're gonna have a secondhand Bombus or the Corpo Security, you just basically spend it and you just punch your attack straight through, or you just kill this guy with something that you have, so that way you're not worried about them blocking all your stuff. It's really, really good when you have a big Jackie and you're worried about them just chump blocking it with a Bombus. You can just play this and get right past it. It is one of the stronger programs, and it's a very cheap program at only 2 cost. I really like using this card because it will win you games when they have a small wall built up, and it's very frustrating when you are stopped by a Bombus when you have something that has 20 plus power and there's no trample or anything like that in this game. So it only takes 1 power, or not even 1 power, it just takes you having a blocker to completely just negate an attack, and this will just get around that. Granted, it's gonna only target those 2 cards because it has to have a the cost of 2 or 3 or less. You could do a Sword of Wise Hustle or something like that if it has Mandibular Upgrade on it too, so there is a little bit, there are a few more targets than just the blockers, but those are going to be the main guys you're going after anyways with it. Up next we have the Eyeballs, the Kuroshi Optics. This card is interesting. I kind of go back and forth on when I first started playing the game. I would always just sell this card because I thought the ability that it has to look at a friendly face down legend without revealing it was kind of whatever. Like, am I going to play this over like Mantis Blades? Mantis Blades is going to give me more power than this, and you know, power is everything, at least how I used to think about it. And I am going to put it in the fair but better options, but I really do like this card, especially early game. One of my favorite openings is to get the cheap Ruthless Lowlife equipped with a Kuroshi Optics or even an Evelyn Parker, where they cost 2, this thing costs 1, and then you just start attacking and trying to reveal cards, basically to try to find Dum Dum as fast as you can, so you can call Dum Dum and then just burn the Kuroshi Optics and draw 4 cards early on into the game and give you a huge card advantage over your opponent. It doesn't happen all the time, and mid to late game this card's kind of useless, so then it just becomes cell fodder at that point, which is why it kind of drops off compared to some of these other ones that are good at all stages of the game. But it's not bad for all that, but you're mainly wanting to try to get this thing in your opening hand so you can equip it to something and start finding the legends that you really need to call ASAP. That will make or break your deck and just give you a huge advantage over your opponent if you can call the right one. Going into the next one, and one of the most frustrating and one of the just most powerful pieces of gear is going to be Mandibular Upgrade, which we talked about a little bit ago. It costs only 1, and all it does is give whatever you equip it to blocker, which is insanely strong. Almost Preem. I almost want to put it in Preem. There's a case that can be made for it. I'm putting it in strong because man, I go back and forth, honestly. I'm gonna keep it at strong, but you can definitely make a case for putting it into the Preem category, because giving anything blockers, and the best keyword in the game right now, it's the most important one currently, and being able to give anything in the game blocker for just 1 eddy is incredibly valuable. Certain cases you may not care to do that because you're wanting to just be fully aggressive and attack every time with every unit you have to steal as many gigs and keep yourself in the game. If they have a lot and are about to win next turn, you don't have to, you're not worried about keeping something unspent to block. So then it kind of falls off in that spot, but there's no denying that it is a very, very powerful card and will completely derail your plans if they have a Delamain Cab with 7 power and a Mandibular Upgrade on it. good luck getting around that with anything in the early to mid game. You're gonna have to invest a whole lot in order to get around that, and it could be very frustrating. Just for a simple, 5 eddies, they have a huge wall, and yeah, that's very tough to deal with. So like I said, you can make a case for Preem. I'm gonna keep it in strong, but if you say no, I'm wrong, I'm not gonna be mad at you about that. Going from that to the next one, Reboot Optics. Plus 2 eddies, and you give a friendly unit 4 power this turn, which is a lot, and then you have to defeat it at the end of the turn. I don't know. There are a few use cases for this card, but almost every time I see people have this card or use it, it's to sell. I've never used this card for its effect, really. I could understand it if you have to steal a certain number of gigs and you just don't have anybody strong enough to, and this will bump them up to 10 or higher or 20 or higher, then I could understand wanting to have it destroy your unit in order to make that attack happen. It could come in clutch in those cases. I've never seen a case of that happen yet. Where I use Reboot Optics the most, the only use cases I can really find for this card in things that I've done, or theory crafted at least, is you can do it for Caliber, to where you can pump it up to 10, it could steal 2 gigs, and then it's going to be defeated, and then the defeated trigger will happen where they have to discard a card, and then if the card's cost equal to the value of a friendly gig, they have to discard another. So you can proc this and steal 2 gigs by putting that on there, but then you're losing a unit, and that's a pretty big ask, which is one of the reasons why I'm putting it down in the I'm here to be sold for eddies category, because people just don't like to destroy their own units for that. Like, it's not progressing your board state, it's actively hurting it, and just the reward and the payoff you're getting for that, just not really worth it. The only other use case that I've had for it is Placide fodder. Placide needs to discard a program from your hand to bottom deck rival unit. An amazing ability. I love this card so much, and he needs programs, and for a deck that I have centered around Placide, I pretty much put almost every program in that deck, and I'll just ditch him for his effect, and that's pretty much it. So going back to it, it's pretty much just discard fodder, just to sell it or for a Placide effect or something like that. Not the most useful program in the bunch. We're going from that, and we're taking an extreme U-turn to what I'm considering the best program / gear in the game, which is Cyberpsychosis. And what it does is it costs 2 eddies, and you could play this program when a unit attacks by paying its cost, the 2 eddies. And then you have to spend a friendly unit or face-up legend. So if it's a legend, you're technically spending 3 eddies on it. But it could be any unit that you have that's friendly. As long as it's unspent, you can just spend that, spend the 2, and then what are you doing? You're giving an equipped unit 2 power for each equipped gear on it, and then it's defeated at the end of the turn. And it is also the only quick hack, which basically makes it an instant speed. Play it on your opponent's turn, or a quick play, whatever TCG you play. It's the fast card that you can play during your opponent's turn. It's the only thing that really gives you much agency on your opponent's turn in this game, besides calling a legend when they declare an attack. Now granted, you are basically helping them out by making their unit stronger. It might push them over the gap to where they hit the 10 or 20 power threshold and stealing another gig from you. But it's a small price to pay to get rid of something like Jackie Wells, who has been dominant in the meta. I mean, it's the best card in the game, and there's really not much that can, I mean, punching over this guy is almost impossible unless you're playing Jackie yourself. And anything that can help answer getting rid of this guy is going to be top tier, just straight up. It's going to be top tier. And in the future of the game, when there's problematic units besides just Jackie Wells, Cyber Psychosis and cards like it are going to be top tier. Anything that'll give you agency during your opponent's turn and a bit of board removal as well, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be preem. Alright, going up next, we've got 2 left, and we are going to throw Gorilla Arms into the mix as another primo piece of gear. Gorilla Arms is pretty crazy. It costs 4, so it's pretty expensive. It's the most expensive one we have here, and it gives you 4 power, so it's giving you the biggest bang for your buck. And what does it do? The first time this unit steals a gig each turn, you can steal a rival gig with the same number of sides. What does this mean? This means that if you have a Jackie and it's in the mid to late game, Jackie pretty much is just going to be at 20 power at least. And if they have 2 gigs of the same side, you're essentially stealing 4 gigs with 1 attack. And because you're stealing 2 of the same side, because you're stealing 1 for the basic attack, you're stealing 2 for Gorilla Arms proc, you're stealing 3 because you have over 10 power, and then you're stealing 4 because you have over 20 power, or 20 power or more, rather. I've seen countless games, I've played countless games where Jackie's hitting for 20, and he steals 4 gigs with this thing. The major combo in the game is to throw Gorilla Arms onto Pan Am, the legend, and then you're going to spend her to put that piece of gear, that Gorilla Arms, onto a Jackie. Jackie's gonna swing once, he's gonna hit, he's gonna steal some gigs, and then you're gonna spend Pan Am and then give Gorilla Arms to Jackie, and then he's gonna attack again. And I've played games where I've stolen 5 gig die with that same combo, and I've seen it happen multiple times. That is like the major combo in the game, is using Pan Am to give Gorilla Arms to Jackie. But it's not just Jackie, you can give Gorilla Arms to anything and it's going to be a monster. And it's going to get 4 extra power, so a lot of stuff like Caliber is going to hit that 10 mark that you want to steal more than 1 gig. Debug and the others will get close to 9. You could throw Crochet Optics or something for cheap if you're really wanting to buff these guys up to 10, but you're still stealing 2 gigs in 1 attack, even if they don't have 10 power, as long as they have 2 of the same number of sides, which is pretty common to encounter in the late game. So this is definitely a card. If you know your opponent's playing Gorilla Arms, you have to be very careful about which gig dice you're stealing from your opponent, so you don't have duplicates to proc their Gorilla Arms. And it's difficult to get around if you don't have any removal. Going on to the very last card, we have Lizzie, After Party at Lizzie's, which is the only brain dance we have. It costs 2 eddies to play, and you get to adjust a rival gig by up to plus or minus 2. Then, if a friendly gig has the same value, you draw a card. So I was talking before about how you have to spend 2 eddies to draw a card, and that's pretty much what we see here too. That's the magic number, 2 eddies to draw a card, and maybe have another effect too. And unfortunately, this card, it is a brain dance, and there's brain dance legends out there that aren't really playable right now because this is the only brain dance we have. I'm gonna have to put this to just, I'm here to be sold for eddies. And in the same situation as Reboot Optics, it's also a Placide fodder, and I'll use it for that too, but it's just underwhelming. It's not helping your state at all. You get to draw a card and slightly alter their gig dice, I guess, provided you get to draw a card, provided they actually have one that equals the same value as yours, which doesn't always happen. It's fairly common to see that and being able to use this ability to draw a card, but why? Don't even bother with that. Compared to everything else, it's just for selling. Like I said, there's value in just being the Eddie fodder, because you're not wanting to sell your Mantis Blades, your Corporate Surveillances, your Mandibular Upgrades, Gorilla Arms, or any of these other guys up at the top. You're not really wanting to sell these for eddies, if you can help it, because you want to use those to win the game. These are the ones that you care about getting rid of, or you don't care about using. And you know, they have a value in that. But that's pretty much where I think everything's lined up for the most part. I'm pretty happy with this. Like I said, mandibular upgrade maybe could be in preem. It's hard to say for sure, but I'm just going to keep it in strong for now, and I'm going to call the list good as it is. So hopefully you all got something out of this. If you agree, let me know. If you disagree, and if you want to make a case for one of these other ones, perhaps floor it being a little bit higher, I can understand. I'd like to hear anybody else's perspective and the circles that they're playing with what they see, and just in general too on the other videos that I've done, because this does conclude the ratings of all the cards in the game at this point. And I'm sure, hopefully, fingers crossed, now that the Kickstarter is officially in the books, hopefully they'll trickle out a few more cards for us to play around with up until the release of this, because we got some months to go. So I'm hurting for some more cards to play with here. I love theory crafting, I love testing, and just playing this game. It's been a blast, and I'm looking forward to when it comes out so I can make more videos like this. And you better believe that when a new one comes out, I might bring these lists back up and tell you where I'd place them on here. I have a couple of ideas of what other videos I want to make in the near future. Some deck tech videos, and trying to get some footage of playing with people online, and possibly IRL. We'll see about that one. And just trying to play and reach out with other people, maybe do some in-depth card analysis, or make a case for why I think a card is good, or what it would take for one of these cards to be good. I mean, there's only so much we can talk about until it's officially out, and it could all just be for naught. That, you know, they could change effects. Cards I say are crap now could be great when the game's actually out, but you know, time will tell on that. In any case, that's enough rambling. This video's gone on longer than I thought it would, but you know, that's just what happens sometimes when you're you know, going off the top of your head without a plan there. So I just want to thank you all for watching. Anybody who is still here watching this, I appreciate it very much. Any feedback you have on this, I will gladly take and put towards the next video, and I will see you all next time. Goodbye.